We're glad to have you back. The Central Bank of Nigeria has released $500 million to various sectors of the economy to address the foreign exchange challenge. This development comes barely a week after the bank paid $2 billion to settle outstanding aviation and petroleum sector bills. Now, the CBN said it has been working to address the backlog of verified foreign exchange transactions, and the release of this sum is a significant step towards achieving that goal, as this is expected to boost investors' confidence and attract foreign investments into Nigeria. Well, let's get more of this. And joining me is the director and co-founder at Budget, Mr. Seun Onigbinde. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure being here, Tolu.
Yes, he joins me from the United States of America. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, the time difference and all of that. But let's get talking now. We are starting the new year with this show. 1,400 naira at yesterday, in some cases, is what you need to change a dollar in this part of the world, in the other market. Let me start with my question this way. Let's look at what the CBN has been doing since Dr. Olayemi Cardoso got into office, trying to sort out verified claims and all of that. What do you make of that? Is that the way to go in addressing this challenge? And do you think the desired confidence will come with this move by the Apex Bank?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here today, and Happy New Year. We know the month is almost over.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a delicate situation. And let's not forget that there was a backlog of payment to airlines, to petroleum marketers, and also the reserves that we assumed were there on a net basis were never there. A lot of those reserves have been encumbered. And also we have a situation where oil production is not at the levels where it should be. A significant chunk of the Federation's share of oil production is either been committed to an NPC for the DSTP program or also used for the domestic crude supply or domestic fuel supply. So we are not in the right place in any way when you look at things in that balance. I think that's what has brought out this desperation. Let's not forget that we took a loan of $3.3 billion. But for me, in a very outrageous manner, Ghana, I believe Ghana is in a worse situation than us when you look at the exchange situation. And Ghana took that same loan at 9% or 9.9%, the senior debt. We are taking that same loan at over 11, almost 12%. So it means that there is a big problem about what we are doing. And I mean, we're already being flagged as a high-risk country when it comes to flows of currency flows. My conversation, my thinking is that the current government or the current leadership of the think they are putting the IMF option on the table, which is something that we have to go for. If our currency is losing value on a daily basis at this nature, it just means that every single tool in the box has become very important for us to use. So we're borrowing at outrageous amounts, something that we could have even issued at Europe, but I don't think the rates will be higher than that. It also means that we also have to look at every single component for us to find dollars. But the answers in the long run is not what we are doing right now. The answers in the long run are to produce anything else for the world, possibly apart from oil.
It's a good way to start this conversation, Seun. You will agree with me. But I want to follow up with this. What other sources really do we have now? Diaspora remittances that governments will think that will bring in proceeds not looking as bright as it used to be. Export proceeds, we also have challenges at that end. You mentioned crude oil. Our production is not at peak. We are not getting to 1.7, 1.8 million barrels that we should be doing as expected by OPEC. What options do we have internally? I just want us to, is there any, what can we do?
I think the primary option that is left for us now, I think is one, that we still have to find an emergency facility. And I think that's something that we have to do to stem this current slide. An emergency facility maybe in the range of the $5 to $8 billion that we can find. It could be something we are taking from maybe a global creditor. It could be something we're taking maybe a global bank. It could be something the IMF is providing for us. It could be that we're reaching out to the Gulf sovereigns to take from their, to borrow from their sovereign investment funds. We have to find a facility. The President Tinubu has to leverage his personality and his influence across the globe, and also research and where exactly do we find an emergency opportunity to be able to stem this slide. Because what it is that there's a significant backlog here that needs to be met, and as long as those backlogs are not met, as long as we will not be able to slow this slide that's happening. The second thing we also have to put in play is to also look at onshore oil production. We know that deep offshore production is not in where it's difficult. The cost of production is high. It takes a long time to reach an FID stage. But onshore production is something that in a year, in 2-3 years, we can significantly turn around. And there are even current production that we can effectively optimize. I mean, bring an extra 200,000 barrels of crude. We have 200,000 barrels of crude per day. Even at $30 per barrel in profit, which means that we are effectively able to bring around $6 to $7 million per day into the table. If you're able to bring $7 million per day in a month, you already bring around $200 million. So we can, and if you're able to do something like that, on a geometric scale, and you would be able to, to do things differently. So onshore, we need to turn off the taps. We need to look at our rig count. We need to look for where we can find optimization. The president needs better hands, better tools in his box to be able to make this happen. He needs to move that fast. The other thing also we also have to now look at is our non-oil exports. See, we are here in the campaigns, and one of the candidates said we need to move the country from consumption to production. And I think, I always say we need to do consumption and production, but we need to be a country that produces every single opportunity for us to find a non-oil export growth has to happen at this point. The upside is there for us. The currency is devalued. Citizens are going to get much money. If once the input levels are low, they're going to get more money from export levels. So it's also one that we also now look at what's our 3 to 5 year non-oil export strategy. I mean, this government has to think. Nigeria has left a position where we have free oil money that was flowing, free oil money that was there. No, now we have to do the work. There was a report by the Agora Policy about how between 2004 and 2014, Nigeria had around 1 million barrels of Federation reserves. Now we are barely having 400,000 of Federation reserves, which means even out of the entire Federation reserves, the Federation exports that we have, we are almost all of that is committed to NNPC for domestic crude supply. So there's technically no dollars to remit to the government if you look at it in the technical way. Maybe I can accept the MPDC production, and that is NNPC's subsidiary production for its own sustainability. So in a way, there is no other option that we optimize every level of production that we have. And this calls for an emergency situation. The president has to sit down with all the leaders of government. And I also think that the federal government needs to look at our FX market. Maybe it's something that still needs to be tweaked because we have created this open-ended FX system that we cannot back. And so if there's something that we need to do differently in that environment and system that at least allows transactions that are genuine, that are right, that require the FX, that we can go ahead and do that. I'm not saying we create under 2-tier system, but there has to be some FX verification mechanism because what the CBN has done is leave it free for all, do whatever you like within that market. And we know that for currency stability is critical. It's okay for a currency to be devalued. But you don't want to, there's no system that is right. But you wake up yesterday, it's 1,348, and tomorrow you wake up and it's 1,450, the next tomorrow is 1,506. There is no currency, there's no system that appreciates or that is strengthened in that way. Currency can depreciate in pulses based on the current macroeconomic fundamentals. Maybe it goes from 100 to 120 and it stays there for a while, and 120 to 150 and it stays there for a while. But for currencies to depreciate on a daily basis, that doesn't give any symptom for a good economy. And the president needs to step back. Whatever he's doing in France, I hope he's well and can come back to the country and set up an emergency framework for this and says, what is our answer in stemming this slide?
So, at the time, 43 items were restricted. The central bank kept saying it wasn't a ban, it was a restriction. For me, why I'm worried is the fact that some of these items that were under restriction, some capacity were being built for manufacturers to be able to produce them in country. But at the end of the day, that was lifted. And one way or the other, some say that also put pressure on that market. I don't know what you think around that and what local production of some of these products that we import with hard-earned money and foreign exchange. How can we address this gap?
I think we have to go back to the data. And I think this is the thing this government did wrong. I mean, a lot of people say, and I think I made a point about it, don't eat the ground running. I give advice to people. And I tell people when they join an organization, don't rush from day one. Sit in, reflect, read, understand, take a view, an opinion, and understanding the information of the entire fact. Because if you are outside, even Seun onigbinde can say whatever he's saying right now from the outside. If I get on the inside and I have an understanding of superior facts, some of my positions might change. So I feel the government made some hasty decisions, that it did not properly get the required information and entire scope. And that is why it is firefighting at this point. I'm not saying I agree with the subsidy regime. I'm not saying I agree with the FX regime, but there were some variants or some adjustment that should have been made, some calculation, some understanding. If you're going to build an emergency buffer, a facility buffer, before you go taking all those decisions, you go ahead and do that. So I felt like it was a feeling from outside that this was wrong, this is suboptimal, which we know is suboptimal. There was a very porous FX mechanism in the previous government that gave, stupendous benefit or profit to certain individuals who could access it. You want to create the consequence management for that initially, and you want to now have the right information to now know how best to move. I felt like the government came on board and they said this must be done, that must be done, and this must be done. And we are seeing the consequence of all of that can lead to some form of currency or monetary instability at the end of it. Because now, whatever is happening right now, you can't easily tame inflation. You can't really restrain inflation if your currency is losing value continuously. And there's a continuous demand for all of that. And that is having an effect on imported goods. You can't really easily tame inflation that way. So I believe that the government needs all the intelligence and all the data analysis and all the insights to be able to move differently, because the answers are really, really not as simplistic as it should be. But my point is that we have taken those decisions. Those things have been made. The only way forward is two things. One is look for an emergency solution. And second thing, which is very important, is a fiscal tightening. The monetary side of government is trying to close the loophole, and unfortunately, they have also not held an MPC meeting. I think is preposterous. The monetary side of things is trying to close the loophole. We're raising interest rates, we're making some adjustment in there, we're creating a loose FX policy. But the fiscal side is not abating. National Assembly raised its budget, by almost 180 billion naira. Judiciary was raised. The national agricultural budget was raised from 362 billion naira to naira 33 billion naira. Almost about 600 billion was added to the budget of agriculture. And if you look into those budgets, just buffeted the budget with constituency projects. National Assembly member just indiscriminately added projects to Federal Cooperative College, G River, did different all manner of atrocities, if you allow me to use that word, into that budget. It was like a violence, it was like a damage on things. So you can't have a loose fiscal policy and you want to tighten the economy. Both of them have to work hand in hand. You just look at the situation in Kogi State now. So money was traced as taken from the state coffers in Kogi State, AFCC trade, and those money were taken to Malam to be converted to dollars. So that's the situation. When you have a loose fiscal policy, what is that money going to be chasing at the end of the day? It keeps chasing the foreign market, the FX market. So the government, all of this is all connected together. If the Tinubu government wants to succeed, it must have a wholesome approach into how it is doing its stuff. And it means that you must follow the data, you must follow the evidence, you must figure out a way to build emergency buffers at this point. And at the end of the day, you must define the kind of culture of government that he wants to set forward. If it's an Owambe culture of government, where everybody puts anything they like in the budget and get it through the procurement process, well, the answers will be evident to all, as it is now.
Brilliant stuff. One of the those that commented with regards to this FOREX issue in recent times said there is no $1.5 billion to waste in defending the Naira anymore. That used to be done before now. But let me ask you sincerely, do you see the CBN intervening if this hits 2,000 Naira? Some said today. Do you see the CBN intervening to this situation? And also, what is your take with regards to black market operators? Some have said, no, we shouldn't. But currency can be traded. It's just that the transparency in it is what is key.
Two things. When we say the CBN should intervene with what, that's a question we have to ask ourselves. We took a $3.3 billion loan. Part of that has been given out already.
Yes.
So in a way, where exactly else again? We have already made a calculation to say we don't have FX earnings from oil as we used to. Because a significant chunk of our federation equity, crude equity, is given to an NPC. So we are not producing even excess to even get FX. If we even commit that to Dangote refinery, now makes our situation more complex because we have foreclosed opportunities to earn FX to that resource. So that is it. So which FX are we talking about? We don't. Our entire non-oil revenue or non-oil export is less than $5 billion. So which FX are we? I'm talking about an annual basis. Which FX are we talking about? The only option is to, like I said, maybe take a credit, take a line, which the petro states in the Gulf region, speak to sovereign wealth funds, speak to maybe global banks, and engage possibly even the IMF, and put all of everything together to get an emergency buffer to be able to at least withstand this shock. And now think about rethinking the FX market. When you ask about the black market, I have my own personal opinion about the black market. I feel it's not proper. I feel it's an aberration. And I feel like the government has left a loose policy for what it cannot defend. And it's simple. We have a stock market. And it's my own parallel to this situation. If I want to buy stocks, I call a broker. I say I want to buy stocks. I look at the mark. The mark is open. The systems are open to everybody to see. I go and buy stocks. I sell my stocks. Why can't we do the same thing for the FX market? If I have dollars in my account, I log in and I see the rates. And if I log in and see the rates, and if the rates are fine for me at that point, the bank is compelled to debit my account and credit my Naira account, and we all move on with that situation. And that's what I think it should be. Why are we encouraging people to take dollars from the economy, from the system, and take it to the black market and go and sell at the black market? And we're now on this cascade of speculation. I mean, why are we doing that? And then for me, it's let there be a reference rate that is competitive. And let everybody run through that channel. Now, if I want dollars, there should be a verification system that makes sure that the dollars I want, I'm able to, it is genuine. And we did all of that. And I go through the same system and buy the dollars. What we are living, we have left a loose FX policy. I don't know where it's end to it. It was on the weekend I started getting worried. If you follow FX market dynamics, you will know that on a weekend basis, the rates appreciate just because of uncertainty. Well, on this last weekend, the rates were depreciating persistently. That's why I knew that we are in another window of a mess, and it's no time we're going to reach 1,500 corridor, even farther than that. So it's the government has to reflect on the data. I don't have all the data sitting down here. How much the FX goes through the banking system? How much FX does the banking system? How much FX does the private individual level need? How much FX can flow in from the oil and gas on the non-oil export? You have to look at all of this data and now say, this is our best judgment, this is our best decision on this situation. But whatever we have right now is not working, it's not optimal at all.
Seun, it's really a worrisome situation. I must say, it is a real worrisome one. So let's look at it. Let's give ourselves a timeline. If things are done properly and all of this are implemented, we get a headway. How soon do we tend to see it, coming back, and Naira starts to take its pride again?
I think if things get better, when we talk about Naira getting its pride again, we must be honest about it.
Honestly, that's a big one. I know.
Yeah, because some levels are foreclosed already. Except you over-engineer productivity in the country. at the scale of maybe like what you get in maybe Vietnam and Indonesia or China. That's when you can say, oh, a currency can appreciate to that level. And we also know a weak currency is an exporter's delight. So how much we want to devalue, how much appreciation we are looking at is the question. I just think that we need stability. I don't think the question is the devaluation, in my own view. Every currency is struggling against the dollar right now. Maybe except the petrostates that have benefited from this significant price in crude oil. But look at the entire African region: Ghana, Kenya, Egypt, Nigeria. Most every currency is struggling against the greenback. So it's not like, but we are going through a significant slide. And unfortunately, we are supposed to be the shining light for the continent, because this is a time where petrol prices were high. Prices were high. We are supposed to be the one to benefit. This is the time for our currency appreciation. Unfortunately, a mix of unfortunate situation in previous times has put us in this state. It's going to take a while. But in the short run, like I said, is find an emergency fund to stem this crisis. And another thing is to get an hawkish approach, and I use the word deliberately, to optimizing oil production, especially at the onshore level. Because of the deep offshore level, the take of the federal government is less. Most of the deep offshores are PSCs. Most of the IOCs have front-loaded their investment into this platform. So the federal government is not taking as much as it should. But on the JVs that you have on the onshore, if you optimize them, if you stem crude oil, if you stem insecurity, and you're able to take the onshore production to the optimal level, and you're able to sell, then you can get more value of equity crude, and you can now be able to defend the currency quietly on the long run. And the next thing you now want to do is now look at your non-oil export. Have a strategy, clear strategy towards that. And most important in all of this, you need to think about the culture of your government and tighten the fiscal aspect of the budget, of the budget. If the budget and the spending of government is still as loose as ever, as if we are, in the post-pandemic, as if we are still in another reflationary pandemic environment, we are not going to be able to take things forward. And also, you also have to look at your FX policy. This open-ended policies that you have created, is this the optimal situation for this country? And when you put all of this on the table and you are sincere about it, and you have people who are committed towards it around the clock, I'm sure we'll get answers to find some stability soon.
Sure, I must thank you so much. Mr. Seun Onigbinde is the director and co-founder of Budget Nigeria. Thank you so much. It's always nice having you on the program. Your brilliant contributions. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well,